Hello, guesties. This is Alva. I just want to say thank you so much for bearing with us while we took a break because we were on tour. The original plan was to continue scheduling the episodes while we were away, but as you can imagine, it was a lot crazier than we thought. I do want to just say quickly, this episode is going to be split into two parts because we were just talking for so long. So this first part is going to cover mental health, and then in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be talking about religious trauma and how Ghost has helped us with that. This episode was recorded before the tour started, so back in early May, so everything we're saying might be a little bit out of date now, and if you're wondering why we're talking about things that have probably already happened, that's why. I do just want to say quickly before you jump in, this episode is going to be quite sensitive, so if you're not in a good headspace right now, feel free to skip this episode, won't be offended. But yeah, let's dive back in.
I am all ears. The Ghost Fancast.
Hello, you're back with another episode of the I Am All Ears podcast. Today I'm rejoined by Pixie, and today we've got a brand new guest on today. Shanti, welcome.
Hello.
Yay. Okay, so since you're new here, Shanti, please tell us how you got into Ghost.
Oh man, I got into Ghost. I think it was like at the beginning of Copia's time, but I found Cerise. I found the music video for Cerise on my YouTube feed one day. I was like, oh, cool. Clicked it. I was like, ah, great. This sounds pretty cool. And I never got into it back then because I had a lot of like mental struggles back then, and it was also in school at that time. So it was really difficult for me to get into like music and all of that. So it took like a few more months before I suddenly saw the music video for Secular Haze on my For You page on YouTube. And I was like, okay, I'm going to click it again. Clicked it again. Fucking love the music video. I love the song. And here we are.
That's a very niche song to get into, like Secular Haze, especially that video, because I feel like not many people talk about it.
I love that music video and I love that song. It's such a good song for me. It's probably like if I have to make a playlist and it's like the top bangers of all time, Secular Haze is gonna be in it.
For sure. All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about mental health. So usually we're a little bit unhinged on this podcast, but I mean, we're still probably going to be a little bit like that because we just laugh at our own struggles. But I just want to put a trigger warning for this episode that obviously we are going to be talking about certain things that may be sensitive to some people. So if you're sort of triggered by, well, I don't know, like I guess there's a lot of stuff really. We haven't really planned this yet, so we don't know what we're talking about. But just general you know, not being too good and stuff. So I won't be offended if you don't listen to this episode, and I will be putting links in the descriptions if you feel like you need the help. I do also want to point out that this episode is probably going to be like a little bit of a group therapy session for us, and we all know each other quite well enough to laugh at our own jokes and our own struggles. And we're quite self-deprecating, but that doesn't mean we find your struggles funny. So I just want to throw that out there, that if we're laughing at something, it's probably just to do with our own experiences and because of our we all know each other. So we're getting away with it. But yeah,
It's our way to cope with everything.
literally.
Wake up in the morning and take our antidepressants.
Listen to Ghost. We're gonna have an okay day. So I want to quickly talk about some of the scientifics behind not just Ghost but listening to music in general. I found a article from Loudwire, good old Loudwire, and there was a lot of things on this list that were talking about how listening to metal is really good for sort of mental health, productivity, and this one specifically said listening to black and death metal is good for focus and productivity. And it made me laugh because I was like, no wonder Tobias is like a fucking machine who never stops, because that's like his type of music.
No, like real. Whenever I'm doing any kind of like household chores, I've always got my Spotify on shuffle, and a lot of it is like metal and kind of of many different subgenres, and if I've got that music going, then I am just like in full force. I'm in cleaning mode, I'm getting the dishes done, I'm getting the laundry done, I'm cleaning the bathroom. It's non-stop, and I feel like, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was not playing any music.
Oh yeah, we're the same. I'm like, I have a playlist with all sorts of metal, and whenever I'm cleaning or something, I'm like headphones on, music on, shuffle. I'm just going at it the entire time, and after like maybe an hour, I'm suddenly like, oh, I've been busy for like an hour.
It's actually quite interesting because I've started listening and researching a lot into white noise and especially brown noise for me because of like I have a lot of sort of ADHD sort of tendencies, so I've been trying to find ways to boost my productivity. I actually met up with a really lovely guestie a couple of weeks ago, and I'm gonna keep this anonymous. She did say it's fine, but I don't know. I just feel a little bit I don't feel like it's right to fully out her story. But she was telling me about some of the. I mean, she's still going through a couple of horrible life struggles at the minute, and it was almost bringing her to a sort of mental breakdown. And she was saying that the thing that helped her the most to not fully slip into this mental breakdown, she was actually listening to that live version of Gulen Zombie Queen with the kazoo of all things. And apparently the buzz of the kazoo was like stimulating her brain similar kind of way to how white noise and brown noise and all that kind of stuff was, and actually kept her from spiraling. And I was like, of all the fucking performances, like the fucking kazoo is just helping with that. Like, how fucking incredible.
I mean, it's the magical kazoo.
It literally is. Bringing back the kazoo, it's gonna save lives.
Reason why it's called the Kazoo of Destiny.
I was just gonna say the kazoo of destiny. Tobias Forge just out there whips out a kazoo and saves lives.
Whips out the kazoo and says, "Oh, okay, time for some brown noise."
Something I found interesting is people, it's shown that music has beneficial effects on brain chemicals.
Mhm.
I did a massive talk about this with my therapist back when I was able to afford to see my therapist. But no matter what kind of music you're into, it helps release dopamine, which helps you feel pleasure, and oxytocin, which is pretty much the love hormone. It also helps lower cortisol levels, which is the hormone that basically causes you stress. Like, I feel I'm just like 90% cortisol at the moment, but
Mm.
listening to music can actually help lessen those levels.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah, I've gone to therapy last Monday, and surprisingly, I was talking about music and how it helps me with like focusing and everything. And she also said that music in general helps with mental struggles and mental health. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, but like, is it normal for me to always like dream away and just not be, well, me at the time? And she was like, yeah, it's totally normal to listen to music and just focus on only that and not think about anything else and just be stuck in there. It's totally normal for someone who goes through a lot of like mental stress and all of that.
Yeah. I've actually found a very interesting quote from our favorite Swede, which kind of ties all that in what you were saying, Pixie, about the reduction of, sort of anger and like, heightening the serotonin. So this is in true Tobias fashion. This is a little bit lengthy, so bear with me while I read. This comes from the website Stim, which I believe is a Swedish website. And Tobias said, I was a kid with divorced parents and angry most of the time. That type of anger matched very well with the hardcore rock and metal extreme. I've always taken an interest in anything with attitude, and it became an outlet and ventilation just like a boxer and his punching bag. And then the interviewer asked if he was still angry. And he said, no, ha ha ha, I'm almost 40 years old now, but of course I can still get angry and I relive those feelings when I listen to music. If I play the first Morbid Angel record, then everything comes right back. But it's not the same naive and angry teen emotions, if you know what I mean. Luckily, I don't think you could ever recreate a sense of time and emotions as of back then. And I thought it was quite interesting that he mentions, obviously, when you are a teenager, you're going through a lot of hormonal changes and a lot of anger and a lot of it is that stereotypical thing that a lot of teenagers will go towards sort of heavier music because of this positive um, outburst it brings, and it's almost like a way of coping with that internal anger. Where I feel like a lot of people that listen to maybe something a little bit more mainstream, maybe perhaps struggle with that because it's just like they have no outlet.
It's when I was younger, I didn't really listen to let's say metal. I used to listen to metal like on the side a little bit, and
Mm.
it started becoming more, I'd say, the more older I got. And yeah, it's like saying like, oh, you're just a rebel soul, or like you're just an emo soul that's listening to dark music. Like, yeah, like there's a reason why on TV, someone who's generally sad will listen to a lot of like dark music. Like, there's a
Mm.
reason for it. Don't worry.
All right, so let's get on to how, because this is a ghost podcast after all, so we are going to try and talk about Ghost as well. um, how has Ghost affected your mental well-being? Who wants to go first with their a little bit of a backstory?
Happy to go. I'm happy to start that. Because I'm
Mm.
currently still kind of reliving a lot of memories and picking up how Ghost has kind of really helped me get through a lot of things and accept a lot of things.
Mhm.
It was like so I was like taking notes last night. I was like, I need to think back to all of this. And then I had a big cry. So I was like, oh shit,
Oh.
I had to like relive all of
Mm.
this. Damn it. I thought I was kind of blocking out, but like I can't block it out because Ghost is currently helping me really kind of put it all together, see it from a different perspective, and accept it. Um
Yeah.
so a lot of people are pretty aware I suffer with like a lot of mental struggles. I grew up pretty much undiagnosed ADHD. I'm 99% sure I'm autistic. And like I also have BPD and bipolar, so I've got like a big issue with feeling abandoned, and I feel
Yeah.
like everyone's just going to end up abandoning me. Um, so I will start this with a concept. I put a video about this in our group chat.
Oh,
It's
yes.
called Henry the Hedgehog,
Mm.
because I'm going to be talking about what is known as the Hedgehog's Dilemma. And I was actually fully unaware of this. I started learning about this as a child when I was watching one of my all-time favorite animes, which I probably should not have watched as a child, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh
Um,
God.
yeah, that was that's what I grew up on. Adult Swim. It scared the shit out of me, but as an adult, it's my all-time favorite. Um, so this is going to be interesting trying to pronounce this German philosopher's name. His name is
Oh God.
Arthur Schopenhauer, and he
Uh,
talks about. It's also known as the porcupine dilemma. I guess it's just where you come from, what you call it. Um, One cold winter's day, a number of hedgehogs huddled together quite closely in order through their mutual warmth to prevent themselves from being frozen. But they soon felt the effects of their quills on one another, which made them again move apart. Now, when the need for warmth once more brought them together, the drawback of the quills was repeated. So they were tossed between two evils until they discovered the proper distance from which they could, best tolerate one another. Thus, the need for society, which springs from the emptiness and monotony of men's life, drives them together. But their many unpleasant and repulsive qualities and insufferable drawbacks once more drive them apart. The mean distance which they finally discover and which enables them to endure being together is politeness and good manners. Whoever does not keep to this is told in England to keep his distance. By virtue thereof, it is true that the need for mutual warmth will only imperfectly be satisfied, but on the other hand, the prickles will not be felt. Yet, whoever has a great deal of internal warmth of his own will prefer to keep away from society in order to avoid giving or receiving trouble or annoyance. It's basically a big metaphor on human intimacy. I have a big
Oh my
fucking
God.
fear of human intimacy because every time I try to get close to people, I feel like everything's good. I feel like I'm either hurting them or they're going to hurt me. So it ends up with me pretty much in like a form of like self-imposed isolation.
Mm.
And like that, like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like while watching Evangelion, I have this vivid memory of watching the episode where it mentions the Hedgehog's dilemma and what Shinji goes through, and like looking back at it as an adult, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm fucking Shinji Ikari. So a few people know I am in a polygamous relationship. I am poly myself, but like
Mhm.
I am very picky poly. Like I'm not someone who will have multiple partners at once. It takes a lot for me to have another partner. I've been with
Mm.
my current partner for 8 years. I love him. He is what's known as my nesting partner. I will always come back to him.
Oh.
I hadn't had any other relationship outside that one up until about 2018, when someone that I knew who was in America, we started to strike up kind of, of course it always starts as a friendship, but it started to turn into something else. I was aware that he was married, but I assumed that it was kind of like an open marriage kind of thing because he had mentioned that, there were others. So I knew that,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that was between us or anything. So I was fully aware of that. And, we spent the next year really kind of building on that relationship. I'm demisexual, so I need that bond. And as soon as I get a
Mm.
bond with someone, it's like, that's it. Like, it's solid, it's stuck together. That person becomes my world. These people are the people that I need. So we spent, the next year kind of really building that up. We'd talk to each other about issues that we were having. He was feeling unloved by his wife because their relationship had gone to a massive standstill. She was mainly focusing on her career rather than focusing on their marriage, their intimate life, and to some extent their children, because she would always
Yeah.
work and he would go from work to picking the kids up, being, in his words, almost like a single dad.
Yeah.
So that all built up, and then finally in about early 2019 he came over here for work. So I was like, yep, all
Oh.
right, this is it. So I ended up flying down to Sydney. We spent several hours with each other. Use your imagination on what was going on during those hours. And then he went and continued his work. And then we continued this situationship. It wasn't labeled as anything really. Up until about the end of beginning of October 2020. Basically
Mm.
when his wife found out. So it was now obvious that he was being unfaithful. There wasn't any kind of agreement between them. She didn't
God.
end up finding out about me, but she found out about the others, and then
Right.
all these others, really, really turned on him, and it just ended up into one big fucking issue. He left his job, and it was just like I was fucking traumatized because all of a sudden the situationship that we had, like, it ended, and it wasn't
Yeah.
because we both wanted it to end. Like we were both happy with it being as it was. So that was fucking devastating for me. I remember walking into my therapist session because, my therapist, we were doing like trauma therapy and everything because like so
Mm.
the session before she was like, I've seen such an improvement in you. You're happy, you're more upbeat and everything. I'm like, yeah. And then I come in like when that had happened and she just looked at me, she's like, you are very pale. What's happened? And I just ended up just bawling my eyes out.
Oh.
And because like he ended up like closing down all of his socials, but I was able to remain, I guess, secretly in contact, but it was more of a friendship level. But I was growing like
Mm.
incredibly worried for his mental health because he would go ages without any kind of contact. I'm just thinking like I'm gonna have to end up calling like the police in this area to do a fucking welfare check, which would then snowball into something massive, whether or not he was still with his wife or something or at home. I know he got kicked out for a little bit, but
Mm.
like him and his wife, they didn't end up splitting. They were going to like therapy and everything, but it was still just really, really upsetting because I thought that, I'd finally found like a kind of like a secondary partner, and it just had fucking imploded. So I ended up going a couple of years just trying to find something that would, help me kind of get my attention off of it. And like I
Yeah.
was in and out of fandoms, jumping back into old fandoms, and then scrolling through TikTok, see this man with his face painted fingering a fucking microphone stand. I was like, what the fuck is this? What the hell? And then, of course, it's Ghost. It
Yeah.
was right as Imperial's dropping. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna redo my Twitter. Because originally my Twitter was mainly used for my like content work, doing NSFW stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make it a fandom blog. I'm just gonna be whatever. And then I started meeting a whole bunch of people through this band. And I'm like, you know what? I like this band. People are being nice to me. Yeah, let's do this. Let's deep dive into this band. Let's go. What's this all about? So I started like reading up on the lore. I was like thrown into fan fictions. I was meeting new people. Alva, you were actually one of the first people who like accepted me open arms into this fandom. So I was like, oh, cool. They're so nice. And because knowing me, because I live in Australia, there's like never any Australians in fandoms, or if they are, they're either in Sydney or Melbourne, and there's only a couple of them. I ended up finding a few in Brisbane. I was like, holy shit, there's people near me. We could actually like hang out and meet. So originally there was 4 of us in this little Brisbane guesty group. And we decided, you know what? We're going to go out. We're actually going to meet each other. We're going to meet these strangers on the internet. We're going to go have dinner. And you know what? Let's see if we can get used to being around each other. Because if Ghost is ever going to end up coming here, we need to know that we can go together and we can tolerate each other. And because Madge, their birthday was on the 7th of October. So we're like, you know what? Let's plan it for the 9th of October. We'll go out. So we all ended up getting together, and we were like, you know what? We were made for each other. We are friends now. We went for dinner, and like a lot of the time we were just sitting around just talking and just going on. Like ended up being like 10:30 at night. We were sitting at just a park table, like near one of the canals on the Gold Coast. So we were just talking. So we're like, yep, okay, cool. Discord server. Let's see if we can get more Australians in. Our server has fucking exploded over this past year. Like
Wow.
we have at least close to 50 people in the server now. And there's like 22 of us going to the Brisbane ritual. So and because it's funny because with this announcement of the Australian tour, the Brisbane ritual is on it's on the 7th of October, which is Madge's birthday. So it's almost a year before we all met each other and decided we're going to see this band together.
It's meant to be.
It was meant to be. So honestly, for me, Ghost has helped me close this chapter on like the 2 fucking years of trauma that I've been going through. Because I just don't handle things well when people just decide to like up and leave or like end friendships and stuff like that. Like I struggle because it's like the hedgehog's dilemma. I'm being fucking stabbed again. Why did I let these walls down when people are just going to end up hurting me again? But now I'm in a group of people, not just in Australia, but around the world, where these people have not hurt me. So maybe not everyone is the same. Maybe not everyone's going to end up hurting me. And I like the thought of that. So
That's incredible.
When we have this fucking concert, it's just that's the final chapter. But let's not end the book. Let's keep the book going. Let's get some more tours. Let's get some more tours, motherfucker. And like Madge, Emma, and myself, we went and saw Sleep Token on Friday. That was fucking phenomenal. We had the best time. We got at the venue at like 8 in the morning. We were the first ones there. And even just, we were able to sit in line, talk with ourselves, talk with others, and it was fine. We had no issues.
Yeah, I remember you saying actually on the Australia episode that you've got interests that are shared outside of Ghost as well.
Oh, yeah, there's like, we want to do like movie dates. We've gone to places like for food that we want to eat. we want to have like a picnic day where we might go to like the botanical gardens, to like where the little Japanese garden is. We want to go to playgrounds and fucking climb on them, even though we're full grown adults. But like we can be around each other, but not have it centralized around ghosts. But it is ghosts that brought us together.
That's amazing.
So cute. Sorry, your entire story at the end made me go smiling immediately. It's so
Yeah.
sweet to hear.
It makes me smile too.
Yeah, so Shanti, what about you? Is there anything like what's your experience been with sort of using Ghost as a sort of a
Oh
release?
man. Oh man. Like I said with like my origin story, like when I first heard Cerise, I was going through a lot of mental troubles or like struggles. And back then, so to give a little backstory to me, so I'm 25 right now. I went to high school until I was like 21 because um I struggled with studying and all of that. I wasn't stupid or anything. I just struggled so much just doing everything.
Mm.
And similar to Pixie, I I have a lot of underlying things that haven't been diagnosed at all. Like I'm also pretty certain that I have ADHD or that I'm on an autism spectrum. Sorry, but
That's
like
okay.
there's a lot of there's a lot of undiagnosed stuff with me too that is like now being brought to the table. And back in the day, I got bullied in high school too because I was the youngest. No, I was the oldest. Sorry, I was the oldest, and I was also like a huge loner. I was the typical nerd in class who loved anime, loved reading manga, loved watching cartoons and all of that. Just loved reading in general. I was a full on loner. Nobody really talked to me because I was the weirdo basically. And
Mm.
now, when high school for me ended is when, the you good old COVID started. My high
Oh yeah.
school ended. Yeah,
Oh
and it,
wow.
it was
Sudden.
yeah. So for me, like I luckily didn't have any exams. I just graduated. That was great. But for me, it felt it's weird to say because COVID is like an awful thing, and it's like it's so bad at what happened. But for me, in a weird way, it kind of it's gonna sound so weird, but for me, it kind of saved my life in a certain way because it happened at the end of my school year when I was getting quite heavily mentally bullied. Like I wasn't getting physically bullied or anything.
Mm.
Um, but for me, those few months that I started living alone, I used to live in a student dorm. Um,
Mm.
for me, this was great. Like I started doing everything alone. I started learning who I was basically. And that's, when I started really getting into ghosts. And it feels like when I started listening, like really listening to ghosts, is when I started being like, oh, look at this weird man. He's just a funky little dude. He's just a little fella.
It's a little
And
guy.
just a little guy. But I I looked at him like at Papa, I didn't know at the beginning that Papa was actually Tobias or anything.
Mm.
But like I looked at Papa and I was like, oh, we're the same. We're the same. And it it ended up resulting into me how do I say it? Me finding out more fandom spaces and
Yeah.
you know getting more into the music and all of that. I got really into the fandom space last year, somewhere, I think in January, I made my Twitter account,
Mm.
but that's when I started getting into fandom space, and I generally sorry, I generally start joining a fandom space when I start learning more about Ghost.
Yeah.
So I learned the moment I got really into Ghost, I was like, okay, now I need to know everything. Like I need to know it all. I need to know A to Z. I need to know the pies. I need to know this, that, and everything. I need to know it all. And I went into this fandom space, and I was scared that I was going to be excluded again, that
Mm.
I was not going to be accepted. Um, and I ended up starting to talk to people, and it kind of ended up snowballing into
Yeah.
me just feeling so welcome. And it really just came to a point where I knew that there was something wrong with me. And
Mm.
not like, oh no, listening to ghosts is wrong, but like in the sentence of I saw other people like me and they were getting help and they had similar experiences to me. And I was like, oh, maybe I should look into help too. So
Mm.
I started therapy and, you know, found out I have the sparkle depression sparkle. It was just kind of like I knew, but the moment you hear it from someone else, you're like, ah, oh shit, okay. Um, so what do I do now? Um, but yeah, I was so happy in a way that I learned that I was depressed. So
Yeah.
that's when I started listening to other people, and it's weird how joining this fandom space of Ghost, of joining the guesties out there, I was
Mhm.
so welcomed and going to my first concert. So my first concert was, oh man, I have to check my agenda from last. It's been like over a year since
Mm.
last time. Like I went to my first Ghost concert in Brussels. Uh, oh my god, it's almost a year. I went to the Ghost concert of Brussels on wait, the 3rd of May, 3rd of May
Oh,
2022.
yes.
And yeah, I went to Brussels and I ended up meeting up with another guestie of mine that I ended up finding out through other people, other guesties. And
Mm.
in the beginning, I was like, "Oh my god, are there even any Belgian fans? Like, are there even any fans that are from the Flanders?" Because I speak Dutch.
Mm.
Like when I say like I'm from Belgium, people are like, "Oh, you speak French?" I'm like, "No, I don't." But it, I didn't know if there were any other people out there who, from Belgium who were into ghosts. And up to this point right now, there aren't really anyone out there near me who also listen to Ghost, sadly enough. But I went to this concert in Brussels and I just came in and was so welcomed by all these people around me, and I could just like randomly talk to people. And I'm quite heavily introverted. Like I said, I'm a full on loner. I just keep to myself. And I I felt like a full on extrovert when I was amongst all of these lovely people that I ended up meeting. So after that, it was weird that during the entire concert, I was pretty much fine. And when going back home, I was also like, I was fine. When I got home, I wasn't necessarily sad because I wasn't going to see ghosts anymore. I was more sad that I wasn't going to see any of these lovely people anymore. I was
Mm.
so sad. I was I remember going to the toilet immediately and just bawling. I
Oh
was
no.
I was so sad and I felt so bad. And then that friend of mine ended up messaging me saying like, "Oh, you want to go to like the concerts in Hanover and München?" I was like, "Yes, I shall join you." So we went to Hanover and München, and again, you just go in there and meet all these lovely people, and it was crazy how good I felt. And after that, for the next few days, I was doing great. I wasn't like the typical concert depression or anything. I
Mm.
was great. I was fine. Um, and then came a moment where I was talking to another friend of mine. Shout out to Nita. I was talking
Hey,
to her at
Nia.
one Nita, my beloved little Finnish friend out there. But I was talking to her at one point, and we're talking about like after Ghost was over, we're like, okay, but like, what's there to look forward to now? There's nothing. There's nothing on our agendas right now to look forward to, and that's kind of where I started really spiraling again,
Mm.
and it like now I'm on two antidepressants. Um, so and I'm home all the time because I just cannot work. So
Mm.
I'm constantly at home, busy with my own thoughts, and getting to hear that there was going to be another European tour. I was like, yeah, I need to go again. Like I want to see Ghost. That's a huge reason, but I mainly want to see like so many new people out there. Like I've never been to, well, I have been to Lille, but it's I'm gonna go there, and I'm mainly going to be happy that I'm seeing you, Elva. But
Yay. Yeah, we're meeting.
hey, yes, please. But I was so happy that I was going to be seeing like people again, I'd say. And then, Amsterdam we're gonna do, and then together going to Berlin. It's all so new for me. I've never gone really out of country alone or anything like that. So everything is so new for me. And that's like the joy of getting into Ghost, is that I'm doing things that are new to me. I'm trying
Mm.
to find myself, and it's definitely changed me quite a lot. Like, um, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, I saw a post on Twitter asking to post a picture of you like 3 years ago compared to you now. And
Mm.
I don't have any pictures of me 3 years ago that really reflect how much I've changed, because 3 years ago is when I started changing myself. So I ended up looking back into 2017, and I found a picture of me from 2017. AKA, this was so weird to me. I was like, how long is this ago? 2017, 5 fucking years, almost 6 was that
I
picture though.
know.
I
I still think
felt
it's
so
3.
fucking old. I felt old. I felt old, and I saw that picture of me, and I was like, oh my god, how much have I changed? Because back then I was the most normal girl out there. I had no tattoos, of course, because I was still like, how old was I then? I was 19 or something. But I had no tattoos, I had no piercings, I only had earrings. I didn't color my hair. My hair was my normal dark brown. I didn't wear any makeup. I didn't do anything with my clothing because I was getting bullied quite actively. So I didn't do anything special. I wasn't myself. I was just a mask of myself. And compared to now, I'm post pictures every once in a while of like makeup looks or like clothing looks when I go somewhere because I feel confident. I feel good in the way I look now. I feel confident in the way that I um, let other people perceive myself. That doesn't mean, however, that I'm not insecure. I'm quite
Mm.
insecure. So for me, in that way, Ghost has helped me a lot finding myself and becoming the person that I am now. Um, and also, like, because of Ghost, I've really delved deep into the world of metal music. So I have
Mm.
like this entire playlist that sometimes on Spotify I'll be like, okay, recommended songs. Um, play a little clip, and I'm like, this song, I want to bed. This song, I want to make love. This song, is great.
Smash.
Yeah, smash, smash. And it's I have this entire playlist of all sorts of metal music, and I'm like, "Oh my god, why have I never, like, really listened to this music? Like, I could have really enjoyed myself listening to this music, but no, I didn't. I was a pussy. I was a little pussy." But, it was great, getting into Ghost, learning new music, learning to become myself. And I will say this, and like probably a bit of a full on trigger warning here. Um, I have had moments. So I don't do any self harming or anything because I myself, luckily, my fear of hurting myself is greater than self harming. So in that sense, I'm very happy that I'm so scared of hurting myself, but that doesn't mean I don't do things to actively destroy myself. And there were days where I was at my lowest. I was so fucking depressed, and that I knew if I was going to do anything, anything, I was going to be dead within like an hour or something. And what I'd end up doing is just pull up a playlist and put on music. And this was the weirdest thing that always happened to me is that whenever I had this playlist on, it would generally be like random music playing. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden, when I'm going to the darkest point, I see it always like a mountain. And whenever I'm at the top is when I feel at my lowest, basically. And when the moment starts where I'm starting to near this mountain, I'm like, fuck. And then the playlist would switch over to Ghost, and I would think back to the joys that I've gone through with meeting these new people and becoming a fan of this music and all that. And that has weirdly helped me a lot to not, uh, well, to basically not delete myself from this world. Yeah, I have not committed any self deletion as of yet. But no, yeah, Ghost has helped me a lot to, meeting new people, becoming myself, not doing anything to myself. I'm still struggling a lot.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot of underlying problems that are still ongoing. A lot of family things that are happening that I just I don't know what to do with. I have been thinking about going no contact with my family, but I just can't.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot of struggles that I'm still going through, but the fact that I'm now looking forward to seeing Ghost again, going to my first festival ever, which is also something that
Yes.
I never thought I'd do this, but I saw that Ghost was going to Grass Pop, and I was like, I have to go. I need to go there. And I end up instead of doing like one day, I was like, I want to destroy myself. The full thing. And yeah, I'm now going to grass pop, and I never thought I'd do that if it wasn't for Ghost. I'm
That's
doing so
amazing.
many new yeah, I'm doing so many new things because of this fucking Swedish ass motherfucking band with like some dude that is larping on fucking stage. God damn you, Tobias Forge.
Some Swedish dude was born in 1980 and now I've got to spend money and now my mental health has improved. God damn it.
Real.
God damn it, you Swedish motherfucker. But yeah, now I have something to look forward to, and it's great. I'm looking forward to meeting all these new people. So it's gonna be joyous. It's gonna be great. Can't wait to meet so many people.
Well, I just want to relate to both of you and guess tell a little bit about yeah, because there's so many things you guys have both said that resonate with me, and it's so amazing. I mean, it's kind of sad that we've all gone through similar traumas, but it is also amazing that we are, united with by it. Um, so with me, it was like, I mean, I've struggled pretty much on and off. A lot of undiagnosed hormone-related issues. Turned out that I had PCOS, so that was fun. So my hormones have always just been, yeah, my serotonin level doesn't know what the fuck to do. Plus, like a load of like, again, going undiagnosed with ADHD and like a little bit of the tism. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so like there was a lot of struggle right up until obviously when I was 18, 19, I moved to London, which that was obviously a big thing. And uni for me was just traumatic, which again I won't delve into. Um, but I got into my first real relationship, which I didn't realize was kind of um, toxic at the time, but like looking back now. But long story short, we were engaged, blah 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 blah, doing the whole getting a house and, living together and doing the normal late 20s stuff. Although I suppose we're at mid 20s at that point. Um, but again, because of having to try and do the norm, I was in a really shitty job where I worked for a a mattress and bed company, which I won't name. Um, but yeah, I was so fucking depressed at that job because it was just pure fucking hell. But kind of going back to what you were saying, Shanti, about COVID, again, I have to reiterate, it was fucking awful for a lot of people, but for me, it saved me because suddenly I didn't have to go to that job anymore and I was getting paid to not be at my job. And just gave me that time out I needed. So, things were starting to get a little bit better because of that. But then, literally a couple months in, I got a new job because it was, my job was starting to throw redundancies out, and I was like, yeah, fuck that job anyway. But being at home gave me the time to get a new job, and then got a new job, and within a month, my 5-year relationship with my engagement was broke off. Not out of my choice, so that was taken from me, and I was also living 200 miles away from home, and I was like, okay, what the fuck could I do? Couldn't afford to move out by myself, so the only option I had was to move back home with my parents. Like I said, 200 miles away from my job, no longer having my house, away from all my best friends. And at the time I was just like dealing with it, but like not realizing what was building up in my head. Just because I had to go into survival mode. So we lived together for a year until because of COVID, even though we were split up. So that was traumatic in itself. But then yeah, I moved back home and then things were going like, okay, I'm back home. I can kind of try and work on myself now. And then in the beginning of 22, I think everything just finally fucking snapped, especially when because I've got this weird phobia, I suppose, of especially the unknown, but especially because I've not lived through any sort of war. When everything started kicking off with Russia and Ukraine, I went into this fucking bad state where I was scared to leave the house, and then everything, all the other trauma that was pretty much had built up, had just hit me all at once with this constant fear that I was going to die. So I didn't leave the house. I was having to ask my new job to work from home, and try and like I just wouldn't go anywhere, and I was just scared to be conscious every single fucking day. Added on to the fact that I was having a bit of a health scare with some skin related thing. I got asked by my friends if I wanted to go see Ghost. And I was like, oh god, okay, leaving the house around a big bunch of people, that's fun. But I thought I was so sick of the way I was feeling. I was like, you know what, let's try and do this as a recovery program thing. Annoyingly, with this I was getting better mentally, but with this health issue that I had, they called the appointment on the day I was going to see Ghosts. And obviously all my friends are in London and it was the London ritual and I'm in Birmingham. And I was like, oh fuck. The appointment's at like 5 p.m. and obviously Ghosts just the doors open at like 6. Like what the fuck am I gonna do? So at first I cancelled. I was like, guys, I'm not gonna be able to make it. Someone else can have my ticket. And then my friends were like, what if you just make it for when Ghosts come on stage? Like, even if you don't get there late, come and find us in the crowd, whatever, because you've been looking forward to this. And I was like, okay, I'll figure something out. And then literally a couple of hours later, the hospital called me and was like, oh, we need to make a change to your appointment. It'll be at like 9 in the morning. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. I was like, that is not an inconvenience. Like, that is a blessing. So, yeah, I ended up going to that ritual in London. I've mentioned this a few times. I was a casual fan beforehand. My best friend showed me the Rats music video like back in like 2018. I had listened to them a little bit before then because I think I remember listening to Dance Macabre and Square Hammer first. But the first time I saw like the videos was at my best friend's house, again, late 2018, maybe early 19, and I just saw this funky little rat man dancing. So yeah, I went to that London ritual and it completely fucking changed me. Like I came out and I suddenly felt happy. I felt like I was so inspired creatively, which, because again, I'm quite a creative person, but I was in a slump with that. I didn't know what to do in terms of art or anything. And then, yeah, I kind of went home. And again, like you said, Shanti, you need to know everything, like A to Z, every little
Yeah.
detail. And I was listening to a lot of interviews with Tobias, and I was like, this guy is fucking me. Like, not actually fucking me. Like, this guy is me. Like, I was feeling so validated and so many similarities. Like, having an older brother who's like, 10 plus years older. Like, all the music grew up on, like having a very liberal mother. Like even down to like the films that we both watched too young at an age, like The Great Rock and Roll Swindle. Like I watched that at age 5 as well, and I was like, that's so freaking niche. Like, how many other 5-year-olds can you say have seen that? And I was like, this is scarily similar and scarily like. He's also a Pisces, which I am. Like, our birthdays are within like a week of each other, so I'm like, this guy is literally so similar, and that just drew me in further. So I was just, spiraling, reading everything I need to know, finding out everything I could, obviously listening to more of the music. And then, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm in my hometown on my own, away from everyone. I need to find some form of interaction that's not with my parents who are in their late 50s. So, yeah, I started Twitter, and it's just weirdly snowballed from there. Like I've always been a person who's made memes and tried to find the joke of everything, even though like I'm quite a cynical and self-deprecating person. So I just started throwing out these memes, and yeah, it, like I said, within the year I've just hit 6,000 followers. It's insane. It's
my
like
God.
all these people, and then I just started doing new things. Like within like I went to that concert in April. I booked it in May. By early June, I'd flown to Sweden by myself. And then within that couple of weeks, I booked to go to America by myself to go see Ghost and meet Papa, and also, like you said, meet people. And people were coming up to me in America being like, we know you from online. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, how has
So
this happened?
weird.
I've gone from being in my bed, not scared to leave my house, thinking I'm going to die in the February, to the June I'm in Sweden, and then by late August I'm in fucking America by myself. Like the complete 180 of the century. And it's like you were saying, like I'm believe it or not, I'm very introverted when it comes to people who I know don't have similar interests to me. I'm very shy, but if there's a special interest in common, I will suddenly become the biggest extrovert. But yeah, like I said, now it's like it's more than just the music. It's like a whole community. Like you said, like I'm within a matter of weeks. And by the time this podcast comes out, it might have already be over and partway through. I'll be jetting off to all these places I've never been to, partially on my own, but partially with a group of people that I've never met. Some I have met because again, I went back to Sweden. I've met people from Sweden. Someone from Sweden came up to visit me. I've met people from Belgium. I've met people from America. Like, you know, so I'm meeting all these people and we're all just going around the country, around Europe. And then eventually we're going back to LA to go to the LA shows. And it's like within the space of a year, how this has blown up, it's insane, but in the best way. And I really didn't think like in the beginning of 2022, I would be there to live, to tell the tale by the end of 2022. But the fact that I'm in 2023 and I've achieved so much in so little time is incredible. And, you know, like I said, the creative streaks come back. I've put out 2 zines. I've started this. I've started like, you know, doing art projects again. I've picked up the guitar again. And it's all because of this little Swedish man.
Just that stupid little Pisces man.
God, what's wrong with him?
It's all his
Oh,
fault.
God.
Yeah.
He made us this way.
I am all ears. A ghost fan cast.